Hi everybody. I have Ajané here with me, also known as Woman of the Womb with her beautiful daughter. And today's episode feels extra sacred and extra special because we have our very own womb healer here. She is a true medicine woman. Also, happy belated birthday, 12/12.
Yes, well, yes, thank
You're a
you so
little baby yourself.
Yeah.
I love it. Ajané is an astrologer, herbalist, holistic womb wellness mentor, author, and nomadic world schooling mother currently living in Thailand with her family. She is the author of Yoni, an in depth guide on holistic and indigenous care practices such as yoni steaming, as well as a workbook called Out of the Shadows. It's a shadow workbook and a menstrual cycle tracking journal. So, Ajané, I'm so honored to have you here.
Yes, thank you. It's so surreal just kind of like hearing those things repeated back to me of like, the things that I've created and given birth to. Yeah, I'm processing that right now, but I'm really honored to be here. Uh, a lot of the work, the books that I've written have really just been centered around my own journey and my own healing journey and wanting to share that with other women because I know once you really tap into that power and you start to release all of these subconscious blockages and things that we have inherited through childhood, through societal messages, through religious programming, whatever the case may be, once we start to unlock those things, that is when we truly tap into our power. We're able to live a fulfilled life, right? That's not just about money and finances, but that is rooted in our purpose, in the things that we are passionate about, in the unique messages that we have to share with those around us. And so that is really the focus of my work and why I create these things and put them out into the world.
We are so blessed that you are doing this work and sharing it with the collective because I feel like there are so many people who hear this and they're like, I want to do it, but I don't know where to start or I don't have clarity on what my path even looks like.
Yeah.
So, do you want to share a little bit about not only your lineage, just to give us kind of like a brief overview of your ancestors and where you come from, and then how you really evolved into this practice?
Yeah. So for me, my dad's family actually are from Honduras. They immigrated to America. My grandmother immigrated to America. All of her siblings, huge family on that side. So over the years, a lot of us have just been, coming over, even up until this day. So that's been an amazing journey diving into that part of my lineage. My father was born here in America, so I'm second generation American born. And then my mom's family, they are immediately, what we know immediately, are from the southern US, so Georgia. And then we have, of course, the blending of the native indigenous people on that side mixed with the African lineage and tracing them from their roots from Africa. So coming over from Africa and then, of course, like the blending of those cultures and being enslaved people in the Americas, there is a lot of um, rich culture from both sides when it comes to medicine making, themes of strength and survival, and so many of those things, right? And so when I was younger, 8 years old, I was able to take a trip with my family to Honduras. We took a huge family trip. And that experience, the moment that I landed and just felt the connection to the earth, the smell of the atmosphere, right? Of the sky and everything, something was awakened in me where I was like, okay, I feel this stirring in my spirit, right? And at 8 years old, I didn't really know what that meant, but um, I think that's what planted the seed where I was like, I'm supposed to be international. I want to travel. I want to experience different cultures, right? Because being there, learning more about the Garifuna people, which are a blend of African mixed with the culture of Honduran, the Spanish, the European, all of that that's kind of blended together. And so learning more about the cultural dances and seeing their spiritual practices. And I was like, wow, this is so different from what I've been exposed to here in the States. And even with my family, like there was a deep sense of like pride in where they came from, but then also like this sense of shame, right? And so I was always very interested in how those 2 things coexisted at the same time, why it was like that. And so from that age, I would just start asking my grandmother different questions about our family, where they came from, how is everyone connected? And I started writing a book to document. And this is at 8 years old, right? My grandmother, she loves to remind me of this when I talk to her, and she's because she started I think not I think, but I know that I inspired her to go on that journey of being the record keeper in our family. And so that's something that I have definitely inherited from her. And now tying that into fast forward the work that I do now and as a teen, I would say around like 18 years old after graduating high school, I started to feel that stirring again where I was like, something just feels off. This path that I'm on, going to college, doing it this traditional way, something just feels very off. And like most people, I didn't know I had no idea where to start. I always knew that I was very creative. I knew that I wanted to work for myself. I knew that I had a message that I wanted to share in so many different things. I would need a lot of hours to dive into them, but so many different things in my path started to connect the dots. And so I had the skill and the background. It was just, I don't know how to put it together. And so
Mhm,
my journey didn't really start with saying, hey, I'm going to start this as a business. It was more so I am going on this journey of healing myself, of healing my womb physically. And once I started to do that and learn about these different practices, it tied everything back together. It tied the herbalism and the cultural practices from my lineage. It tied all of that together. It tied the shadow work together, understanding the women in my lineage. Again, the shame that they carried. How does that translate into our physical health issues? How does that translate into the womb ailments that we carry? And so just the more that I started learning that for myself and applying that to my own journey and then sharing that with my friends and family and community online, everything really just evolved from there and the path naturally revealed itself.
wow. Like, it was like this pull to, "Okay, I need to inch closer and closer and closer to this thing that's, magnetizing me," and just letting it kind of unfold as it was supposed to. And
Yeah.
so I'm curious why the womb out of the whole body, is it womb because it was maternal, or was it a specific draw to, like, sacral work and kind of, like, tension there?
It was actually literally just wanting to heal my period. That was it. It was
Okay.
like I'm about to go on this shadow work journey. I'm about to heal the women in my lineage. It wasn't that at all. It was literally, I was sick of having horrible periods, right? I was tired of, just the excessive bleeding and cramping. And then sometimes I would have periods that were like 10 days long. And then sometimes they would disappear for like a month and then it would come back. And it was just so up and down. And at first, I didn't know that that was even something that I could change. It was just, this is just what it is. And I would have doctors kind of just be like, well, this is normal. Here's some birth control. And I was
And
just like, okay. Yeah, yeah. So I was just like, okay, sure. And like I said, it really tied together. So at the time I was in college and I just remember going and having this feeling of like, I'm not sure if you ever seen the movie The Truman Show, but it my gosh, yeah, great movie, but basically the premise of it is he thinks that this is his real life, and everyone else is in on the fact that this is a show that is being recorded and broadcasted, to the world. And so everything is scripted, and he's supposed to stay in line with this script. And then eventually he starts to find out that this is not true. And he realizes, like, okay, there's all these weird things going on. And that's how I felt. Like I was going to school and I was just like, okay, everybody's doing the same thing. Everybody's dressing the same. Everybody wants to go out on the weekend and drink. I don't feel like I belong here. It's like, where are the cameras? Like, that's how it felt. Where are the cameras? And so I just started deep diving. I started just learning. I was on YouTube and just watching videos, and it would lead me to this thing and it would lead me to that thing. And so, somewhere along the lines, I learned about Queen Afua and her book, Sacred Woman. And that just unlocked everything else. And so, from learning from her and then other teachers and healers, learning that healing my cycle was not just a physical thing, that there were physical aspects that went into it, right? Like diet, cleaning up my diet, the products that I use, hormone disruptors, the endocrine disruptors, and all of that stuff. But then also learning about our womb being an energetic portal. And so the people that we have relationships with, our sexual experiences, the messages that we carry and that we hold on to about being women and what that means, our place and our role in society and our families. So yeah, that's how everything else unfolded. It wasn't, it wasn't anything like this is going to be my business or, shadow work. It was literally just I want to stop having terrible periods.
That's so powerful because I feel like that's how so many, soul and spirit led businesses evolve is like there's a huge disconnect here, there's a huge issue here, and you found the way to heal that naturally. What like going against obviously the doctors just prescribing you medicine, trying to put a band-aid over the real rooted issue. And now you're so passionate about it that you want to help other women and let them know you don't have to have painful periods.
Yeah.
This doesn't have to
Yeah,
be your normal.
exactly. Yep. And so just as I started learning, I was just like, wow, other people need to know this. Like they need to know this. I feel like I have a duty to help other people wake up from, these illusions. And so that led into all of the different illusions that we are living in, from health and wellness to money and finances and business to our education system and all of that, and how all of those things really tie together. And so, initially I was kind of frustrated because I was like, all of these different topics. And I feel like, how everyone says, like, I'm this multi hyphenate creator. It was like, I felt like my message was kind of all over the place. And so it took some time for me to figure out what my messaging was and how all of these things connect and why they're all important and how I could even structure those things. Because before it was just me sharing them. Like I said, it wasn't a business. And then it was, okay, how do I actually make this sustainable for me? Because this is what I love doing. I love teaching. I love talking about these things now, right? And this is where, like, I don't, I wish the language was more expressive. This is why I love telepathy and things like that, because I feel like language is so limiting. But for the sake
Yes.
of the point, this is where like that divine masculine and divine feminine connect, right? Because it's like the creative, intuitive, nurturing aspect, it needs the structure. If I'm going to make this something that is sustainable for me to be well resourced, for me to be sustained while I am doing this and providing this information. And so having that structure, marrying those two things together is where the books and the classes and workshops and community space came from, because it was like, okay, now it's time for me to bring some structure to this and figure out how do I make this a real tangible thing, that's not this abstract idea of like, oh, I'm just a creative. I'm like, I don't want to be a struggling, what they say, a struggling artist or a starving artist. So, that's kind of where I am today. And how do we utilize these tools and resources the internet, technology, how do we combine those things together to make them work for us?
You were speaking about your purpose and how you ended up finding it through the work that you're doing now. And so I know that you do speak a bit as well about ancestral wealth. And so what does that look like for you and kind of how you were, becoming this beautiful like version of yourself now and being able to turn this into a business? Like what did that process look like for you and maybe overcoming some of those blocks that I think a lot of spirit-led businesses face?
Yeah. So now the one thing that I will say is that my husband has been very instrumental in helping me with that process. I would say that he was the first, and I don't say this to discredit any of the other amazing mentors and women in my life who helped me to kind of cultivate who I am and who I was, when he and I met. But in terms of like taking those things and putting it into a structure, um, he's definitely changed my life in that aspect because he was the first person that was like, it used to frustrate me because he used to simplify it so much, and I'm like, "It's not that simple," right? So he was the first person that was like, "Hey, you need to write a book. Like, you need to write a book." And I was just like, "But what do I write? Like, I don't even know what to say. Like, who's gonna care? Who's gonna buy this? When I put it out, like, am I even gonna get sales?" And so that really is one of the things that clued me into the internal work that comes along with creating and with business. Because if you don't believe in yourself, if you don't see the value in yourself, then you're going to struggle a lot in your business. If you don't have healthy boundaries with family, right? Like family is our training ground. And so this is something that I've learned and studied a lot, especially through the lens of astrology, and doing like natal chart readings and things like that. But I won't go down that rabbit hole. Saying that to say, the physical response that I felt in my body when he was like, okay, write a book. I was like, I could feel it in my heart space. I could feel my anxiety peak. I could feel my blood pressure rise. And this is not an exaggeration. Like these are the literal sensations that I felt in my body. And so I had to really sit with myself and figure out first of all, what are the internal messages that I'm receiving about myself or that I have received or that I keep on replay in my mind. And then where did those things stem from? Where did they come from? What are the specific instances where I remember, feeling incompetent or feeling low sense of self-worth and things like that. And so asking myself those questions allowed me to literally travel like the neural pathways, examining where did they come from? Was it through my direct lived experience? Was it through inherited messages, the subconscious messages, the programming of when my mother was actually pregnant with me? So my mom and dad, they were teen parents. And so how did that experience shape them? And then specifically my mom being pregnant with me, what were the messages that were on repeat in her mind as I was incubating in her womb? And so um those exploring those questions in that was one part of it, okay? Like becoming aware of it was one part of it. And then the other part was, okay, now that I'm aware of it, what do I do to reprogram that? So how do I undo that messaging and how do I give myself a new baseline, a new foundation? And so that's where the different somatic practices came in, meditation, sound healing, yoga, EFT tapping. And these are things that I learned over time, grounding, being closer to nature. How does that regulate my nervous system? So that when I am writing, when I feel that blockage, I can say, okay, I recognize that. Okay, here's how I move past that and continue anyway. And the more that I did that, then the easier it became. And so now it's like, okay, I can fully embody who I know I've always been, but now I'm no longer afraid to show up. I'm no longer afraid to say it. I'm no longer afraid of the judgment that people are going to have. I can still show up anyway and fulfill my purpose and do the work that I know I've been called to do.
And was there a particular situation from childhood or even like through your ancestral line that you were able to root kind of like that anxiety and fear to then like when you were doing the
Oh,
somatic you were able to
for
find it?
sure.
Yeah.
Yes, and then there are quite a few links. The most prevalent one would definitely be my relationship with my mom, and so that even that path became something a couple of years ago. I did a healing the mother wound workshop, but that was, I would say, the most significant for me, witnessing her relationships growing up. And then when she got married, so her and my dad, they're not married, but my stepdad and her had a very tumultuous relationship. So just issues with abuse, infidelity, and witnessing that as a child growing up. And then the impact that that had on her and I's relationship, because when you are a parent and you are parenting from a place of trauma, then it is very hard to show up in the ways that you want to. Which is interesting because my mom is also one of like my great, or in certain ways, has always been one of my greatest supporters. Right, a lot of programs and things that she had me in was always with that thought in mind of, I want my daughter to live a better life than me. I want her to not have to experience these same cycles. But then there were also a lot of fears and mindsets that she had that kind of became my subconscious voice. And so it feels like, okay, well, if my mom doesn't approve of this, or if she doesn't see the vision or whatever, then it's like, okay, I'm not going to do that. Or, and then also because, and this is why I also have to share my husband, his role in my life, because that was also something that was a huge point of contention between her and I, right? Because of, again, like fears of not wanting me to repeat certain patterns. And so there were certain things that she saw where she was like, okay, this kind of reminds me of my relationships, and I don't want you to go down that path. So part of it was a lot of fear. And so when she saw he and I like becoming closer and doing these things together, for her, it was just like alarms blaring and red flags. And she's like, no. And so that was a huge thing for me too, which I'm sure we'll get into in a second, because he and I had all of these crazy ideas, like, living in a schoolie and converting the school bus, doing the tiny home thing. And so for her, all of that was just like so out there, where she was very vocal about her disapproval for certain things. And it would make me second guess a lot of things. Um, it made me second guess a lot of things. And I realized that in order to, and like I said, that was just one of the things. There have also been many others, but I realized, like, okay, I have to decenter her first in order to be the woman that I want to be, that I know I can be, that she has raised me to be, right? Then I have to decenter her. So that took a lot of reprogramming on my part to be able to do, and not have her nervous system be the foundation for my nervous system, if that makes sense.
It makes perfect sense because I had to go through the same thing with my mother, and it is like that's whose womb you were in for 9 months. That's who you're energetically connected to in so many ways, and they raise you based on their conditioning, how they were raised, and it's passed down, and so you think that that's normal, and that's how you see the world kind of through their lens, and you want their approval,
Exactly.
and then you realize maybe this is actually not what's best for me. Like I'm being pulled in another direction and I don't want these things that they're telling me. And I too was like you, I'm questioning, well, why does it have to be this way? Why do you have to go and get this job in corporate and, things of that nature? And there's a line of, like, being a protective mother, but then also, like, letting your child kind of fail and make the mistakes on their own, knowing, like, this is what's making them stronger and giving them autonomy to, like, become the person that they're meant to be.
Exactly. Yeah.
So I'm curious to hear, like, how motherhood has been for you because it sounds like you did all of this processing before you became a mother yourself, which is so beautiful. You're like shocked.
Well, yes and no. Yes and no. I would say so my oldest I got pregnant with my oldest at 21, and, I would say that I was aware of the work, but I didn't it's one thing to be aware of something, and then it's another thing to have the experience and to go through the living embodiment of that and having to put into practice the things that you're learning and that you're preaching and that you're teaching. And so motherhood became a huge initiation into my shadow work. It was something that I was already doing, but then it just catapulted me into a whole other dimension and aspect of that. And so being pregnant you're literally activating all of these womb stories as your child is developing and they're growing. And so there's so many things that are coming up. And then you add in the dynamic of partnering with the other parent. And then you've got all of their family things that are being healed through you, and through that child that is coming in. And then you're learning things about parenting styles and how do we want to parent and how do we parent together. And so then there are things that you see, and then those things trigger you, or at least for me, let me speak for myself. And so going through that made me have to take a look at, okay, wait, what is this triggering in me? What memory is this bringing up? What emotion is this bringing up? How am I projecting these things onto my partner, onto my child, onto the family that I am creating? And how do I separate those two things, right? How can get myself to see through a clear lens? Because when we go through these different traumatic experiences or we're carrying these heavy womb stories, it can distort what is in front of us. And so, it's like seeing with dirty glasses and you're like, "Man, this world is dirty." But then it's like, "Well, if I just clean the lens or if I just remove them altogether, then I'm like, wow, it's it's not as dirty as I thought. That was just the lens that I was seeing through." And so motherhood not only helped me to explore those things, it also helped me to understand my parents and my mother in another way because then I start going through my own challenges, right? And I'm going through life and I'm trying to figure out, okay, well, how do I take care of you and how do I provide for you and how do I have enough money to do all the things that I want to do for you? And now I'm like, oh, yeah, now I realize, like, it wasn't just her, this wasn't just my mom's personality, like, these were real life things, like, she's trying to grow into being a woman, and especially thinking about her being a teen parent, I'm like, she was literally a kid when she had me, and so now this has helped me with my journey of forgiving certain things and letting things go, realizing that it was never about me, that I didn't need to, or I no longer need to internalize those things because they have nothing to do with me. So it helped in that aspect. But then also, motherhood it ignited something else in me, especially related to business, because then I started to see, okay, the work structure does not allow me to be the mother that I want to be. With my oldest, I wasn't yet fully self sustaining. So I still had to go to work. And I remember having to like hide in the bathroom to pump. So my oldest was also born 2 months early. So then that feeling of also like being separated from her. And then when she came home, having to have other people watch her while I went to work, it re-triggered those feelings of like separation and things like that. And I was like, okay, I have to figure this out. I need to be able to stay home. I want to homeschool my children. I This is the vision that I have for my family. And so again, my husband and I having some serious conversations of like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. If we want to change the trajectory of our path, if we want to be able to do this, then we have to make some like radical and bold moves, some bold decisions. And so, all the structure that I have now, like even being able to do this interview, like my daughter is right here. There's no way that corporate world or traditional jobs would allow me to have the flexibility and the freedom to be able to do this. And so I was like, no, I want to be able to make the rules. I want to be able to establish how this is going to go and how this is going to run. And the only way for me to be able to do that is to do it myself. And again, and that's why I'm so passionate about working with women and with mothers because I I feel like it's a curse. It's a curse to keep us in this cycle of extracting our medicine, extracting our creativity, extracting our nurturing and our wisdom and these things that are inherently ours, whether you have physically given birth to children or not. These are things that are inherent to us and that are given to us for us to be prosperous, for us to be wealthy. I believe that that is the design that the creator, whatever name you want to give it, has for us. And that is why we were designed in this way. And so we see this extraction happening generations and generations back, right? With witch trials, with herbalism, midwives, in the people who are at the center of carrying humanity forward. We've seen this extraction and this abuse and all of this for many generations, and so I do believe that that is a curse. And so my passion is, how do we undo that? How do we step out of that? I don't know. I feel like I was going on a tangent there, but straight away from the original question.
No, it's totally fine. It's wonderful. It is so true because even, like, our cycles and, like, the way that time is, it's like none of this is really conducive to us being able to live, in our highest because, like, we are one with Mother Nature, with Pachamama, and so it's
Exactly.
so
Yeah.
already, like, the food and the water, I mean, our resources aren't super clean, and so already we're kind of, like, in an upstream battle here. And then you throw this on top of it
Exactly.
of like, hey, if you want to make, a healthy lifestyle for you and the baby that you're raising, you're gonna need, X amount of dollars per one child. Good luck. It's like, oh my goodness. Just layer on the
Yeah.
stress.
Yeah, and then it's like, okay, now I have to choose because it's like, okay, either I'm going to go to work and provide for my child, or I have to be a stay-at-home mom and have no income and then also rely on my partner to sustain me. And that's a very vulnerable feeling, right? It's a very vulnerable position to be in. And so, and then that was also a thing for me because it's like, well, how do I navigate both of those? Because in the frameworks that we have, it's like either you are a traditional wife or you're a feminist, or you are, like male centered, or it's like, I hate men. And I'm like, well, I don't believe either of those things. So how do I, where's the middle ground? Why is everything so extreme, polar opposites? We see it in everything. We see it in politics, we see it in race, we see it in religion, we see it in everything where it's like everything is created to be so divided and polarizing. And so it's like, well, how do I be a stay-at-home mom and be wealthy? How do I exist in a partnership and also have independence? Is that possible? And how do I do that? And so I love the time that we're in. I love the technology and how can we use it to be innovative? How can we use that to clean up the earth, to have clean water and fresh food? How do we use these things for our benefit rather than our detriment? But yeah, and I even now, like when I see other moms, even women that I'm connected to or that I grew up with who are like, man, I'm struggling, or my kid got sick, or I'm feeling like this because I'm not making the money that I want to. And I'm like, I want to help. I want to share. I want to teach these things that I'm doing. And it's like, it's not just for me. You can do this too. You have the same ability. You have your own gift. It doesn't have to be womb healing. It could be whatever you want it to be. But here are how you utilize the things around you to sustain yourself, and here's the foundation, here are the frameworks that you can put it into, so that it has that stability. So yeah.
And so what does some of that advice look like for the women listening, now when this gets posted, if they're kind of in this predicament of, I want to live in my purpose, they have a child to feed, what do I do? What would you tell them?
My so from through my experiences, I am always I think it is simply a matter of using what is immediately available to us. We have to use the tools that are right in front of us, right? So, what do I mean by that? If you are, and these are just things from my own journey. I'm a mom, I homeschool. Well, that could be something that I can do. Other people want to learn how to homeschool. If I'm already doing this, if I'm already homeschooling my children, and maybe I don't have to necessarily teach other people, but maybe I do a really good job of making homeschool binders for my kids. That's a stream of income. Maybe I want to have more kids for my kids to be around. Well, let me start a homeschool group and I just get paid, it's a $5 offering. Start small, because we don't start at, I'm doing this $1,000 master class, especially if you've never done anything like this before. The first thing is like, let me just get comfortable with that feeling of, oh, okay, I can do this. Even if it's just $5, right? $5 offering to join my homeschool group, and we meet up and we get little dollar store supplies for the kids. And then I start sharing that. I start sharing it more and my group grows. And now maybe now that my group has grown and I've made maybe $100, now I can say, well, let me reinvest that a little bit back into myself. Maybe now I can offer the next thing, or whatever the case may be. So always start with what is immediately available to you. And just to give like a couple of more examples, like for us in our journey, when we were doing the school bus, there were other nomads, who wanted to know, how do I do this? And what did you all do? So we said, okay, let's put together a class, or not even a class, a workshop. Come to my workshop. It's $10. I'm going to tell you how I did it, where I did it, where I got the land. I'm going to answer all of the questions that you asked me about this thing. And yeah, it's not $1 million, but I bought food today, right? Or I got lunch, or I paid my phone bill or something. And when you start small like that, then that starts unlocking these parts of your brain. And then you can go on to do more, and you can go on to do these other things. So the things that I'm doing now, like there are 100 things. I know how to crochet. I would make baby things for my daughter. And I would just post them, and people would be like, "Oh my gosh, that's so cute. Can you make me one?" Sure, it's $50. I'll make you a sweater for your daughter. So it's, how do I just utilize things that I naturally do? These might not be the things that are, that like my career is not built on me crocheting, but those are things that help me that helped me in my journey, that helped me to realize, oh my gosh, making money is literally just having an idea, having the skill, sharing it, and that's it. That's all it is. We complicate it because of all of these things, again, that we've been conditioned to believe about money and jobs and career, and all of the gatekeeping, as I like to call it, that's around that, where it's like, no, you got to go to college first. You got to spend 10 years studying it first. It's like, no, everything that I am, everything that I know is valuable. So it's just about seeing that value in myself. And if I don't know how to see the value in myself, or if I have, again, going back to the shadow work, if I have all this subconscious programming, then you need to do that as well. Sit with yourself and ask, where does that stem from? What is my level of self-worth? What is my level of self-value? Why don't I see my ability to cook or to clean as something that's valuable? You know? And
That's
start with the tools that are already right in front of you, that you don't see, that you're not
I love
looking at.
That's wonderful advice, and especially, like, those offerings that are smaller, it's like, "Okay, how can I build my, capacity to hold space for these people or this thing that I'm offering?" 'Cause it is like that leaping from 0 to 100. Your nervous system blah, 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 your nervous system needs to catch up with that capacity that you're
Yes,
creating as well. When you're betting on yourself and believing in yourself and doing what you love, like, there is a bit of a transition in that as well.
for sure. Yeah, for sure. Because even for me, when I first started, and again, a lot of stuff was my husband prompting me, you should try this, you should do this, you're really good at it, you should try it.
Amazing
And
man.
I just yeah, yeah, he definitely is. I have to give him his flowers because he has worked with me a lot. And likewise, we both have kind of done that for each other in our healing journeys. But when I first started doing well, before I say that, one of the things that I want to say is that we have also been taught to not put, whether it's direct teaching or it is um, through observation, through experience, we have been taught to not put firm boundaries around these things because there's that conditioning where it's like you're supposed to do this, you're supposed to clean, you're supposed to
Yeah.
take care of the children, and whatever other programming that is associated with womanhood and motherhood or whatever, so that it feels weird to say, I'm going to charge for this, I'm going to charge for this access to me, to this proximity to me. The only time we have really seen that is in professions like sex work, right? Where it's like, I'm going to charge for this. And so when people see you asking for compensation or claiming your worth, it can make them uncomfortable because they haven't learned how to do that for themselves,
You're a
right?
mirror.
And so there's all this discomfort with everybody, the person who's selling and the person who wants it, because we have also been conditioned to extract. Right? We have things like Amazon. We're conditioned to want it fast and want it now and want it for cheap, right? And so tying that back in, like when I first started doing readings, I would do the tarot readings, and we would just do them for donation based. Like I didn't have any price, it was just donation based, which is fine, right? If you've never done it before, then yes, it's great, it helps you build your experience. But with that, you also see that, okay, there's so much work that I'm putting into it. $1 for the 30 minutes or the hour of time that I am putting into this, creating this, providing a service, it is not an equal energetic exchange for what I have to put into it. And so then you realize, like, okay, now I have to adjust. I need to make sure that it is an equal energetic exchange. And so from there, I was like, okay, now it's not, it's still donation based, but the donation needs to be a minimum of $10. If I'm going to do this work for you, if I'm going to devote this time and attention to you, then now this has to be the foundation and this has to be the minimum. And so you asked me earlier, well, how did motherhood tie into that? Well, because as I had more children, I'm like, okay, well, $10 is not enough. I now have to stop what I'm doing. I have to stop preparing lunch to come and sit and talk to you and give you this thing, right? And so it evolves from there. And you realize, okay, I need to create more solid boundaries around what I'm doing. That is not a capitalist thing. That is a form of nourishment. That is a form of protection, that is a form of stability. And I want that for myself. I want that for you. And through me doing this, this is also teaching you, or it should be showing you, wait a minute. Oh, instead of being upset with this person for doing that, I can do that too. I should be doing that too. Instead of being mad at them for claiming their worth or for stating their worth, maybe I should state mine. You know what I mean? So it
Yes.
becomes this healing process, I think, for everyone. And I think you said that word, like it becomes the mirror for how do we elevate together. Because when I'm well resourced, I can give to other people. I can sow into other women, and then they become well resourced, and then they can sow into other people. They can sow into their children better. And then, sorry, I'm gonna wrap it up with this point too. That ties back into lineage, right? And why our lineage is so important, because for me, I realized, through slavery and these other things, it is my duty to connect with that source of wealth. I owe it to my ancestors, not just the women. I owe it to my grandfathers. I owe it to my grandmothers who did not have the privilege of being compensated for their work, who did not have the privilege of being the backbone of literally everything that we see today. The ideas that were stolen, the creativity that was stolen, the literal blood, sweat, and tears, the milk that was stolen to sustain other people's children and other people's family and other people's lineages and other people's wealth. The wealth that the corporations that we see today that they have amassed is because of me, is because of my lineage, is because of my creativity. And for so many of us, right? This is because, we've seen this happen in many different cultures, whatever. But that is it's like, no, this is actually my duty, not just to my children, but to the people who came before me. We deserve to be compensated. We deserve to be well resourced. And so the more that we stand in that, the more that we all have that realization and step into that, I think that that is a beautiful thing. I think it's something that we all should be doing, and it is the passion behind everything that I do and that I share to help people, whether that is through shadow work or birth work or whatever. How do we reclaim that power in these different areas of our life? And then, however that translates for you, that's great. I just want it to translate into some way. If that helps you have better relationships, then that's great. If that helps you to make more money, then that's great. How do we step into our power? What are the things that are blocking us from that? And, you know, how do we
That literally,
access
like
it?
that lights a fire in me. I'm just like, "Oh," because it's like you incarnate in this lifetime and you're so connected to your ancestors and you're like, you're doing this for something that's so much bigger than you. You're doing this for your whole line, and that is so deeply powerful, and it really, like, comes across in such a beautiful way. I'm like, I'm
Yeah,
so
thank
inspired.
I'm sorry.
It's important.
I
It's
love
important work. Yeah, and I think a lot of the
it is.
times they're thinking of me and, this, but it's like we're here for the collective. We are one. Like we have, our ancestors guiding us and we're constantly being communicated to by, these other realms and whatever, source energy, higher self, ancestors, whoever you're connecting to. And so it's like we think we have control over these things. And yeah, we can set the boundaries and we can like have the creativity and do all of these things. But there also is a sense of like these other, forces are coming in and just like guiding us. This is the path that we're supposed to be on and the work that we're supposed to be doing for the collective.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's so right now I'm getting ready to host what I'm calling the digital soulpreneurship immersive. And reason why I love, again, I love this time that we're in because, what is the difference? How are we moving away from the traditional like work and capitalist structure without demonizing money and without making it seem like, okay, well, money is the problem. It's like, no, it's just the structure, the language that upholds this structure, that is the part that needs to change. When we see it as something that is nurturing, that is healing, that is a way that ushers us into a different collective future, it shifts the paradigm, and I know that there are many, many, many of us who are tired of that structure, that system where it is. oppressive, where it is extracting, where it is in the hands of the few. And now, again, like we don't have these gatekeeping systems anymore. We have the internet. We have, the ability to go and learn and be self-studied and create our own foundations, create our own communities, create our own networks. And so I love that. I love teaching, you know, how do all of these things combine and marry together? And how do you find your own wealth? Because you don't need to be like me. You don't need to write a book on shadow work or whatever. You just need to figure out, well, what are my gifts? What is valuable about me? And then how do I channel that into, the vessels are the same, right? You've got workshops, you've got one-on-ones, like those things don't change, but your medicine, your gift, the message that you have to share, that's the part that is unique. And so how do I just put them into the right containers so that I can receive my equal energetic exchange while providing this value to someone else that's going to help them learn something new, that's going to help them shift their life, shift the way that they think about something. That is the gift that we all have to offer. Our unique lived experience and our unique life path is medicine, is value, is a source of wealth, not just financially, but is a source of wealth. Like this exchange right here is something that I'm saying to you is going to ignite something for you to go and do. And then something that you're saying to me or that you remind me of is going to go and ignite something for me. And so that is what energy exchange is. That is the part of wealth that is left out from the language and the structures that we see now, and so
Yeah, think so many women in corporate are in burnout and they're living in these structures that are not supporting their cycles or their nervous system or anything. It's like you're never being told good job and you're drowning in work, you're not getting proper sleep, especially if you're a mother. And it's just like you're creating a system for yourself of being your own brand and like living in that
ex-
embodiment for other women to see. And then especially, you speak about your partner being so supportive. And I do think
yeah,
in relationships that masculine feminine exchange is key. And I think still a lot of women are finding there's a struggle there. There's an
hmm
imbalance there in a lot of relationships, at least that I see. And so I'm kind of curious on what yours looks like and then even advice that you give to women in their relationships of balancing that, especially when you're your own boss and in
yeah,
doing this and how that looks.
yeah. And it's funny because this, I would say, it was also a source of like contention between the two of us because I would get really frustrated. Well, number one, like, wow, this comes like so easily to you, or it comes so naturally to you. And like, you always have these ideas, and I love that. And I feel um like stuck. Like I have ideas, I have things that I want to do, but I used to be upset with him, and then I had to realize, like, okay, this is my anger is misdirected because this has nothing to do with him. Me not going after the ideas that I have has nothing to do with him. It has everything to do with me. Why am I afraid to go after my ideas? And I would see him, like, I would get upset because he would be like, okay, I made this amount. I'm going to go invest this. And I'd be like, you can't do that. Right. And this goes, ties into scarcity mindset. Okay. And so this also connects with like our programming and things like that. So that is something that I also had to release, the scarcity mindset and where that comes from. And so I would get frustrated because I'm like, we can't afford for you to go buy a $300 laptop. And he's like, what are you talking about? I have to, if I want to keep growing, right? I need to invest in better equipment. I need to invest in the computer. I need to invest in these things. And so that really taught me a lot about, oh, reinvesting in myself, because my mindset was like, okay, well, the kids first, and they need this and they need that. Um, no, again, that same system of like as soon as it comes in, instantly sending it out, right? I'm instantly giving it away. I'm buying this thing, I'm buying that thing, but I'm not investing it in the right things to propel me forward. And so that was part of it, like
Mm,
that. frustration and misdirected anger where it's like, oh, actually, I should actually be learning from you. And so that was another thing because I felt like, well, I'm always supporting your ideas and these business ventures that you have. And what about me? And he's like, yeah, but you get an idea and then you don't follow through, or you do it for a day and then you don't do anything with it. Like, that's not sustainable for our family. So while you're figuring that out, like me as the dad, I still have to be self sustaining. Like, I've got to make sure these things are taken care of. So until you figure it out, we're going to do this. Right. Um, and so we've had, many different ideas and business ventures and projects that we've worked on. But then a lot of them were like, again, like physical labor. So creating things and, then that kind of became a frustration for us because, for example, like my husband, he came up with the empath grounding shoes. And so they were shoes that were designed to help people, like bring people into the topic and the practice of grounding and meditation and getting back to nature. And so that started out as something that it was like, this is a passion project, and then it blew up, of course, and everybody was like, we're ordering and we're ordering. And then we became like a production factory, and it was just the 2 of us. It's always been the 2 of us working, right? And so that became a thing where it was like, "Oh my gosh, I'm feeling so burnt out." Now this thing that was like just a practice we had for our family, now it's like I don't even wanna do it anymore, and, it's like I'm literally in here and I'm making shoes, and it's like, "Hold on, kids, sit down, shut up, we gotta work." And so I was like, even in working for yourself, you realize like, "Oh, I am falling into the same trap. I'm creating the same structure." And so when, that is what prompted us to start moving into, okay, how do we move more into the digital space? How do we become even more free? And so the first I would say 2024 was the first year, and we actually moved to Thailand. So we have been nomadic for a while, but this was our first time like going international. And that was something that really, really was a catalyst for saying, all right, new level, new initiation. How do we become more creative with our offerings and now moving 100% into the digital space. Whereas before it was just like a small aspect of what we were doing, like the digital work. Like I said, a lot of things was still physical and physical products and stuff like that. But still centered around who we were as a family, meditation and yoga and things that we were actively doing so that it wasn't like an extra thing. It was just we're just being ourselves, right? So anyway, that transition became a huge catalyst, and that's when I was like, okay, all of the years that I've been showing up online and sharing these messages and writing these books, now is the time for me to fully to take a step back and fully look at this empire, right? That has been slowly building over time and go all in. And, tying that back into my partner, like he's my mentor, like I mentor a lot of other people, but he's my mentor when it comes to like digital
Okay.
marketing and like, all right, here's the trends and here's this thing. And I'm like, okay, great. But I have to take that and I have to make it work for me, right? Because like you hear all of these like the male gurus and they're, into like digital marketing. And even that is still very much like sometimes it can feel a little icky. I'm like, the advice is great. Like it's great. Like the structures and things that they have is great, but then how do I take that and apply that to me as a woman? Like how you said, working with my cycle and like understanding my energetic flows and that I'm not always in production mode. Like sometimes I'm in, okay, let me download the idea. Okay, now let me give it, now I'm in this phase of let me structure the idea. And now I'm in this phase of, okay, let me communicate the idea and send it out to other people and attract the people that I want to work with me. Okay, now I'm in the phase of now it's been birthed. And so now I have to cultivate it and I have to refine it. And so how does that apply to my cycles? Because for him, he's like, men, they're on their 24-hour clock.
With
We're
the
on our
sun.
monthly clock. And so for him, he's like, I can come up with the idea, I can make the drop page, I can do this, and it's done in a day. And I'm like, listen, buddy, I need a couple days to build the website, now integrate it, now sit with it, now figure out how do I want to convey the message. And so now that I've found my rhythm, it's like, okay, now I know my cycle. I know I can get things done much quicker, right? Because I know my, I know my pathways. I know yeah, that's the word for it. I know my cycle and I know how it works for me. And so now I can expand that. So it took a little while and it took a few different things to get here, but I would say now we're more smooth, smooth flowing
Yes.
in
It's a
our
little,
process.
like, softer, and I think it is my cat's really crawling up my chair. It is to be so my son. It's to be so, discerning on the information that you're receiving, and it's not like you're not meant to do it alone, but it's also like, "Okay, I'm hearing this advice. How can I now make it, apply to me and, what I'm really wanting to create here?" And sometimes that is through just doing it and then just changing it along the way. And I think that kind of like messy, just growth and evolution over time, especially through social media and being able to see how you're growing and changing in your content, the way you speak and show up is actually beautiful and like what makes you you and what makes the brand so much more relatable. It's like
Yeah,
you're not picture perfect, robotic, like it's just you're you, you're authentic, natural.
yeah. Yeah, because
It's
that is ultimately what it's about. A lot of people, and this is another thing that turns people off because they're like, "Oh my gosh, I'm sick of the influencers and everybody doing the same thing and the same trends." And so there's that form, there's that way of doing it, but then the other way is like, "Oh, well, how do I use this as a tool to connect with my people, to connect with my community, to connect with the people who want this particular thing and tune out the others," right? That's another thing that he and I differ. Like, he's like, man, I don't, he's like, whatever, I leave my comments on. I don't care. People say crazy things. He has the nervous system capacity for it. I do not. I'm like, listen, no, block, no. Like, I'm totally different. But then that shows the difference, right? We are, even just our anatomy, right? We are receptive, and so we have to be, it's a little bit different for us in how we allow things to come into our sphere and that we allow ourselves to take on. And so even just seeing the differences in the two of us and how we navigate certain things, it's like every one of us as individuals has to do that and figure out, maybe Instagram doesn't work for you, but you need to figure out, well, how do I best convey my message and put my message out there? Am I a writer? Am I artistic? Am I visual? Do I like making videos? Find the space that works for you, get your community, translate them into your inner circle, right? Whether it's Patreon or school or whatever, move them into your space, create your ecosystem, create your web, your network, right? And don't focus on the external noise. And so, these are just a lot of things that I've kind of learned over time and through our journey and learning from each other and things like that.
it's
Yeah.
beautiful. You have such a beautiful story. And now overseas with your
Yes.
it's
Yes.
absolutely crazy. How do you handle living almost like this nomadic lifestyle of not being super rooted, grounded, like because you're moving quite a bit, right? Or are you staying in Thailand for a while?
Well, we've actually been here almost 2 years. We were when we first got here. So we kind of go through different periods where we're very active in our moving and in our travels, and then we have a period where we're grounded. So sometimes that can be anywhere from like 6 months to a year to 2 years. Just, our life has really been about moving cyclically and what is best for like where we are right now and for our evolution and our forward growth. And so of course, our vision is to be grounded, have a grounded space and like land and building a home for our children. But then it's like also being nomadic has taught us a lot. It has helped us to grow and expand our capacity for generating the resources that we need to be able to do that, right? To invest in that way. And so moving abroad just allowed us to not only continue with that vision of world schooling our children and having them to learn through experience, but it's also given us a whole new host of skills of being able to be creative, of being able to say, all right, how do I draw from my immediate environment? How do I utilize my tools and the resources that are available to me? How do I master my ability as an alchemist? Because that's really what this journey is. It's alchemy. It's transforming these seemingly unrelated things and making gold and making magic out of it. And so, being here now, this opens up new opportunities because now I get to say, hey, people who are in my community and who have been watching and witnessing us go from a school bus to, crusty quality videos, right? To, wow, look at this background. Like, I look at me, not to brag, right? But look at me living my dream. Hey, you can do that too. You can live your dreams as well. Your dream might not be to live abroad, but it might be something else, and you can do it. You can be the alchemist in your own life, no matter where you come from, no matter what background you have, what resources you did or didn't have. You can do that in your life as well. And so this just adds to it. And so now I'm abroad, and this also adds to our vision of traveling and hosting retreats and being in different spaces. Maybe even, maybe the vision, for us, the vision might have been, oh, we just want to have a house. But now the vision is, well, we own retreat spaces in different countries. And now people who have worked with us for years, now they can come in person. Now we can commune in person. It's not just online. It's not just digital. Now we're sharing space together. It's not just our virtual meetings, but now we're sitting
Right.
next to each other. And we are celebrating the work that we've done in our lives and with ourselves together, right? And so, I know, but I don't know where these things lead. I have my idea, but with the universe, with the most high, God, whatever you want to call it, what it has in store for me is so much bigger than what I'm even imagining. So yeah, us being here is just a stop in the evolution of this path and the purpose that is moving through me, because it's not my purpose, it's a purpose that's moving through me that has to be fulfilled for the evolution of humanity and whatever. I'm just a channel. We all are. We're all just channels. And sometimes I think we also get caught up in that, where we feel like this
Yeah.
is this is mine. And it's like, no, no, no. This is we're borrowing it. We're borrowing a piece of source because it needs to be expressed and it needs someone to channel it through. So
Yeah, absolutely. We're here in Earth School, here to do the tough work. We're given our mission. No, yeah, it's absolutely beautiful. So, the years ahead, right? 2026 just started. We're in the 1/1 portal today. What do
yes.
you energetically, yeah, right? Like, feel for this year, for you and for your family?
The word that has been just coming up is just expansive. That's
Mhm.
the word. I feel like this year is an expansive year. Last year, 2024, 2025, for me personally, and I feel like I've seen this energy in the collective as well, was where people are like, okay, no, I'm feeling more stable in this. Like before it was kind of like I'm trying to find my way. I'm like moving with the blindfold on in the dark. In the last 2 years, it's been about stabilizing the frequency of where we want to be, the existence we want to have, where we want to live. And so this year, or 2025 rather, that the past year has put me in the spaces of like, okay, yes, more of this, please. More of this. I want more of this. Even if I only got to experience it once or for a brief moment, it was like, okay, this is it. This is the vision. And so going into this year, it's like, now I want to expand. I am no longer afraid. I'm going to put myself out there, like even reaching out to you. I'm shooting my shot with everything. I'm not even giving myself a second to think otherwise. It's a yes. Whatever I am asking for, it's a yes. That is the energy that I am moving in this year, that I want other people to move with this year. Because when you do, you realize, like, oh my goodness, this wasn't as hard. Me reaching out to you really wasn't. It wasn't hard at all. It was just let me send a message, right? It's just communication. It's just talking. It's just being a normal human being. And we've gotten away from just being normal human beings, I think. And so that's the energy of this year where it's like, no, I'm gonna apply for that. Oh, I wanna be on TED Talk. I'm gonna apply for that. And if I don't get the first, I'm gonna keep applying. I'm gonna send the message to the next person and the next person. I'm not gonna stop until I get a yes, because everything so far has shown me I do have what it takes to do this. When we first came to Thailand, we were like, we've been doing this for a few years. We have this a simple foundation. We know we've got to keep building it, but we think we can do it. I don't know how it's all going to fit together. And then we started doing it, and then I was like, oh, wait a minute. I do know what I'm doing. What the heck am I talking about? Why am I acting like I don't know what I'm doing? I do know. So this year is like, no, I know who I am. There's no shadow of a doubt anymore. There's no person that could convince me otherwise. And that's not to say that everything has been perfect, but even with things kind of going haywire, it's like, yeah, that's cool. But before, where it used to like stress me out or, have my nervous system in disarray, it's kind of like, well, there's that mosquito again. All right, get out of
Yes,
here. That'll be handled. It'll be
yes.
handled. Not even gonna allow myself to emotionally attach to it anymore, and so it's like that that year of the horse, it's like it's fast paced, it's go. Whatever I put my mind to, I'm doing it. The first time I have the idea, I'll tweak it and I'll fix it as I go along, and it's okay to show up imperfectly, you know? I think
And
that's
it's
the
like a
biggest
nod
thing.
to the remembering as
Yeah,
well,
yeah,
like we have walked this path before, and it's like remembering why we're here and really kind of leaning in, trusting into the unknown, being like full
yeah.
surrender, shooting my shot. And when you reached out to me, it's like this is a full body yes for me. There was no doubt about it. I was like, this sells. Like, yeah, she's here on a mission for sure.
Yes.
I was like, wow.
Yes, that is definitely the way to describe that. On a mission this year. It's like I'm on a mission. I'm not stopping until it's accomplished.
I felt it. And so, is there anything else that you want to share, kind of like your last little bits? Is there a message that you want to give to the She Who Remembers audience? And then after that, I want you to say where people can find you, where they can find your books, and just share a little bit of that information as well.
Yeah, of course. I feel like, this entire conversation has just I think whoever is tuning in will receive what is meant for them. The only thing, whether people are paying me or not, right? Whether they work with me or not, I genuinely, genuinely want other people to experience their life at the highest possible state that they can. Anyone who knows me in my personal life, any person who talks to me, I always want to speak directly to the spirit in them that reminds them of their expansive power, and I hope that is the main takeaway from this, not to see it as like, "Oh my goodness, she's just talking about herself," but just like, "Wow, I can do that too. Or I can do whatever I wanna do. If I wanna live abroad, if I wanna be a famous movie star, if I wanna whatever it is, that you have the power to do that, and don't stop until you get it. Tune out as much as you possibly can. I know it's easier to say it after you've lived through it, but when you're in the moments of, feeling like life is just everything is piling on you or the people around you aren't supportive, find whatever it is that grounds you, that reconnects you with yourself. Hold on to those practices. Go within, tune out as much as possible, Get around the people who do speak life into you. Put yourself into those spaces, even if it is virtually. Clear out the people that you follow that aren't speaking to that highest version of you, and focus, lock in on that. Put as much reminders in your space if you need to write it on your mirror or whatever you need to do. Tune into that. Don't, whatever you do, even if you gotta pause, even if you have to take a step back, don't stop pursuing whatever that vision is, because there are forces around you, there are people around you that want to help you, that will help you as long as you keep going and you believe in yourself. And I know that sounds so cliche, but it really is like the ultimate truth. And the more that you tune into that, the more that you're gonna see that. You're gonna see that support coming from so many different ways. So that that's my message. That is what I want people to remember and to take away from this. But as far as if you do feel called to work with me, I have my community on Patreon, and there is where you have everything. Every book that I've written, that I will write in the future, all of my ebooks are on there. If you are into herbalism, I'd have full herbal medicine making immersive on there, recipes, remedies that I've used for myself and my family. I have my Honoring Your Sacred Cycle workshop on there. So if you're a woman and you want to get more in tune with your cycle, you want to use herbs to help you with that, you want to tune into the energy work, it's a whole archive of all of my work over these years. So you can join me there. And you also, when you join there, you have access to like future immersives that I host. So you have the archive of all of my recordings, but any future ones that I host, you can join me there. If you want my physical books, I have my link on Instagram, but all of my physical books are available through Amazon right now. I know people have their thing with Amazon, so I'm sorry. Unfortunately, is a tool that I've used to help in my journey, but you can
Yes.
find all of my prints on there. I have a few more that I'm working on releasing, but the link to that is in my bio at Woman of the Womb on Instagram, on all social medias, YouTube, Instagram, Threads, Twitter, all of the places, Facebook. You can find my work on there. You can find my links on there. And then I have the digital soulpreneurship immersive coming up that begins on January 18th. And so I'm going to be working with a group of women who want to apply this. Not so much as like, here, I'm going to give you the strategies, but here are the different tools. Here are the different streams that you can use. Here are the different and the outlets that you can use and make it yours, so that we can all grow and be expansive in our wealth and in our money making together. So that's an immersive that I'm hosting coming up on January 18th. And again, that link is in my bio. You can find it in any one of my social medias if you want to sign up for that. And so when you join me for that, you'll also have 6 months in my community on Patreon, which means even after the immersive, you can dive into all of the other immersives and work that's in there. There's so many valuable resources that all really tie together if you're doing the work on yourself and then translating that into your spirit-led business. So,
I think so many
yes.
people can benefit from that, and what a way to kick off 2026.
Yeah. This is an expansive year. It's an expansive year for all of us, and I wanna see more of us doing what we love, getting paid to do what we love, and share and teach other people. I'm that is my focus for this year. And so, whatever other ideas come from that, that's the source, that's the foundation of my
Of
work for
course.
this year. Yeah.
When you work with so many different people, and they come in and they tell you, "I'm dealing with this, this, this," you almost see patterns in that too. You're like, "Okay, here's
Yes.
something that I need to draw in and start working on."
Yes, exactly, and that's why, even creating that Patreon community was so important, because like you said, I see patterns, whether I'm doing a natal chart reading with someone, their business or finances might come up, and then I'm like, "Okay, I already have this. I already did a workshop on that. Here, come join, and then you have access to this." Or, if I'm working with women, so also part of my work has been training as a doula, so I have information on that. I'm a mom. My husband and we delivered 3 out of our 4 children ourselves, so we've had home births with them. So there's so much. that's why I was like, I have to create this community because there's so many different things where it's like I need one place for this so that no matter where you found me or how you're coming into my work, it's all there in one space.
My gosh, I need, like, a part 2
Yeah,
with
we need to
you.
get into that. Yeah, we're gonna have to yes, definitely. Yes, we'll talk about that after. We there's so much more.
You're just so amazing.
Thank you. I That's what I was saying. I'm super grateful. I appreciate you for providing this platform, and I can't wait to share with other people the work that you're doing. And I would love to have you, even you, come in and share with my community and share your medicine with us, and teach us about what you do. So we can talk more about that after. But yes,
Thank you.
yes. Thank
Thank
you.
you for
Thank you
being
so
so
much.
vulnerable. Yes, for your warmth and for being here. I'm excited for everybody to connect with you. And yeah,
Well, I look forward to connecting again, and tell me all the ways that I can share this interview and share it with my community and have people tuned into your podcast and the work that you're doing. So thank you so
of
much.
course. Thank you. Till next time.
Sla-